Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan held his first media briefing since his reappointment a short while ago. Our reporter Mbongeni Muthwa attended that briefing in Pretoria. Mbongeni, good afternoon. We saw a very composed, confident-looking Pravin Gordhan this afternoon, didn't we?
Absolutely, Devin. He was the old Pravin Gordhan that everyone knows. He came across as very confident of meeting the enormous challenge that now he has to face. We have to take into account, of course, that his coming back, his reinstatement to this position is a damage control exercise. That's what it was, the context of his coming back. And he came across as someone who was very prepared and motivated to get on with that task of trying to minimize the damage that has occurred to the rand, to the economy, to investor confidence arising out of the events of the past week. And that's the tone from the formal speech that he read to the very tough questions that came through from local and foreign media. He was on that line of, please have confidence, at least in the government, that we are still, we've got this under control. We haven't deviated from how we have approached managing the economy since 1994 and so on. He pressed all the right buttons. How eventually, the markets especially are going to receive his signals, his messages, that's only going to become clearer. Maybe not now, because already we're in December, it's only Christmas on the corner. As the new year begins and then things unfold, we'll get to see exactly how the markets receive this, whether they believe that anything has changed since the events of last week or not.
All right. Mbongeni, there were a number of issues emanating today from that press briefing, so we're going to have to just narrow it down. I want to start with these controversial issue around the state-owned enterprises. Pravin Gordhan, very, very clear there. He's saying we will stabilize those state-owned enterprises and we will not use money for them that we don't have. And I thought that's a very clear and concise message there. Just tell us a little bit more about what he had to say about SOEs.
Again, his tough line or stance around SAA also has to be seen in context. There is a serious issue around SAA, the management of SAA, and around the person of the chairperson of the board of SAA, Ms. Mbongeni. In fact, even after the president, of course, did that surprise axing of Nhlanhla Nene, we saw statements coming out of the presidency dispelling rumors and speculation that Nene's axing would have had or might have had something to do with the chairperson of the SAA board, allegations of a romantic relationship between the president and her, and that maybe that she dictates or she wants to dictate to the government, to National Treasury, how government should engage with SAA and how government should give financial support to the SAA. The president actually issued a statement dispelling that. So there is that impression out there that the chairperson of the board of SAA is untouchable because of whatever relationship she may be having with the president or not. And again, we saw Pravin coming out very strongly to say that, under his watch, SAA is not going to be treated in any special way or with kids' gloves. It's going to be equipped into line and so on. It was all part of this damage control exercise that this man is facing. It's a mountain, to climb for him to try and do this damage control. But he is capable, and everyone knows that. Hopefully, especially going into next year, he will actually succeed and gain traction in actually convincing people who have lost confidence in the government to say that actually, what happened over the past week was just a blip, as it were. There is no serious damage done here. Everything is still under control, Devin.
Yeah, and then Mbongeni, I mean, he went to pains trying to emphasize that South Africa has two major priorities here, as I understand it. I mean, the payment of debt and the fact that he wants investors to recognize that the country does have a solid ground when it comes to fiscal management. Just talk to us about that.
Of course, even that also must be seen in that context. There were two major issues there that were confronting Pravin Gordhan today to give very clear answers and signals as to where he stands on these issues and where the government actually stands on these issues in the course of the president. There was SAA, and that's the 1 trillion rand nuclear build program. Again, he tried his best to convince South Africans at first and the investors in financial markets that even the nuclear build program, at this point, government can't afford it. We don't have R1 trillion to spend on nuclear power stations. Even though government has committed itself to actually going that route, he even mentioned that a decision was taken at a cabinet meeting of last week on Wednesday, just before Nhlanhla Nene was fired. A few hours later, he was saying that even though such a decision or policy position is there, that will only be done if and when the money is there to do it. And right now, the money is not there. Government has got a 1.8 trillion rand debt already to service in a low growth environment, in a low tax environment, and to do that you would have to cut other programs that are already there, that government, social services, especially social care and so on. And he made it very clear that government is not going to do that. Any new expenditure will only be undertaken as and when there is new money to do it. Again, trying to reassure the markets and the investors that government is responsible around this whole thing of nuclear, even though there is a policy position to say that we want to do this, but it's not going to be done in an irresponsible manner, or it's not going to be done until there is money actually to do it, and right now there is no money to do it.
And lastly, Mbongeni, I see it's also emerged that the budget process towards February, it's emerged that the last week events has not tainted that process in any way.
Absolutely. Of course, the next budget is very, very crucial, given the recent downgrades that we saw from the ratings agencies, Standard & Poor's and Fitch. We are teetering on the brink of being downgraded to junk status. The February budget will be crucial in terms of whether that actually happens or not. And he was, even in his formal statement, he did mention that the ratings agencies, he mentioned them that we care, and what they are saying to the government counts, and government is committed to actually making sure that it addresses the issues they've raised. Crucially, before the February budget, there will be the State of the Nation address in January, or maybe early February, just before the State of the Nation, where the president himself will have to come out and again try and reassure everyone, not just Africans, including investors and everyone, that despite what happened last week, South Africa is not a banana republic. Government is still proper and sound. There's sound and proper governance here. And then Pravin Gordhan will have to come in February as well and reinforce the message. It's very easy to damage the economy, to damage investor confidence, but it's very hard to regain that confidence, to rebuild that confidence. You just have to look at Zimbabwe to understand that. And that is basically the new discourse now that the government, not just Pravin Gordhan, that everyone is going to have to stick to. It's trying to erase the damage that has been done over the past 4 or 5 days, Devin.
All right, thanks very much indeed. Mbongeni Muthwa covering that press briefing by the reappointed Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, which ended a short while.